Okay. We have Chief, Trish, Chief Stewart, Chief Alcadino, Charlie, Larry, Jack Kozak, Terry, Nancy, and yourself, and me.
Okay, perfect. Calling the meeting to order at 6 then on the button. And I'll ask that Trish gets us started. Go ahead, Trish.
Sure, thank you. Okay, I have 4 calls, but a couple of them are rather short. Nothing really significant on yesterday morning's early call, but on yesterday's legal call, I did want to share some things were pertinent to us. The Attorney General's office, Nancy Smith, was on and said following the governor's press conference, they were talking again about campgrounds and if they are not open, can they? And the answer from the Attorney General's office is just before that phone call at noon yesterday, they got notified that new guidelines were going to be coming out pertaining to campgrounds and that they may be somewhat relaxed. We're waiting on the official wording. I checked with them before I left today. We still don't have it. And they said that the governor's office, as soon as it's released, they'll get it to us. So the campgrounds, and you'll hear it a little bit more in this call, we're kind of on hold with that. There was talk about people up in the northern part of the country, the state rather, that are living in motels year-round, and they're being asked to leave for not paying weekly rent on the due date. And there are some motels that want to follow the innkeeper laws. The questions were because they're renting year-round, and they're saying they're an inn, is there a thought to protect these folks who are in these motels? And the answer was, for long-term hotel and motel residents, if an individual has lived there for more than 90 days, then they probably have tenant rights, which means they do come under the emergency order that prohibits eviction for non-payment of rent. And then they asked if that could be in a written document, and the Attorney General's office said that they'd find the statute, but there is a statute with guidelines about tenants over 90 days. There was also talk in another location about clarification on the change in the ruling on the campground. And he said because it's now okay to be outdoors camping, people are coming from out of state, and they no longer can request that these people quarantine because they're going to be outside. And the answer was, again, the additional guidance for campgrounds is coming very shortly, and it may address this. They asked to please hold off for guidance about campgrounds because they don't have a specific answer at the moment. Another town said they're getting questions from elected folks regarding unemployment compensation issues. And the question was, do we have any idea on what the status of the extra federal funds supposedly are coming through the system? And the second question was, if you're an employee in a non-essential business but have lost employment, are you still eligible for compensation? Primex answered they were on the phone. There are a number of questions that we've been in touch with Employment Security, and they're addressing them. Some of the questions aren't on our current list of questions, which they seem to be accumulating these questions, and they said they will get back to us. The benefit determinations are ultimately going to be made by Employment Security, and that we don't have control over that coverage. Okay. And then another town actually adjacent to us, so I'll say the name, Southampton, said they wanted to know if they open their campground, they said that triples the town population. And is there any thought about what this does, considering most people are coming from Mass and New York? And again, they said these concerns have absolutely been raised with the Attorney General and the Governor, and the specific policies and guidance on the campgrounds, they keep saying are coming out shortly. Now, this was yesterday. We still don't have it. And they may be addressing the crowding issues. The Southampton person also said these campers are right on top of each other, and how could you possibly quarantine these people? And again, the AG's office said concerns about the campgrounds and issues, they're going to pass it on, and hopefully it's going to be addressed in this new order. Also, Hampton said that they've scheduled tax deeding sessions with the Selectmen and intend to proceed with it, but with it, will they have to immediately postpone it, and is this okay? And the answer is there is no doubt that the way the Emergency Order 25 is written, the tax collector is prohibited to submit a tax deed. So you don't even have to go to the point of requesting a meeting with the Selectmen because there should be no issues of tax deeds. They also said, for clarification, RSA 80:76, even if the deed is not issued, there is no reason to meet on that particular subject. Another town asked about clarification on interest on abatements, and the answer was it is up to the municipality to decide, and we're trying to get further clarity on whether the interest has been applied in the past or is this a forward-looking emergency order. So that will be clarified, and we'll share it once we get it. Another town, again, talking about campgrounds. Does this reversal on the campgrounds diminish the municipality's authority to close the campgrounds? Can we tell them to close? And they said, again, they're going to get back to us. They said that there was an issue with security because the campground in this particular town was so extensive and to the point where sometimes they have to have a police detail. And the answer was, again, you have to have a certain level of security, but the town does not have to provide it. You can tell them you can't, and they may need to consider this before they open, or allowing only a certain number of people in. And the AG's office gave her email and said if you needed further answers that we could email her. Another town said, as we look down the line, when people can't afford to pay bills with credit cards, if individuals have paid for 14 days for a quarantine, there's not restrictions for the police department to assist the hotel in removing the people from their rooms if now after the 14 days they're still there and they're not paying. And the answer is this is complicated. Only boarding houses can apply for the 90-day issue, not all hotels. Hotel guests would still have to be moved, and anyone who is an essential worker or vulnerable who overstays tenancy and is not paying, off-the-cuff answer is that if one of those are in those categories, they still cannot be removed for non-payment. Another town talked about on Order 25, Emergency Order 25, with whom does the authority lie to make decisions on the interests and the abatements? And the answer is this refers to the governing body. If you've got a board of assessors or a board of selectmen that make decisions, it is whomever the municipality has given the authority to make abatement decisions. Another town talked about, this is kind of funny, a local nonprofit organization started an Easter egg hunt, scattering lots of Easter eggs across all the municipal properties without permission. The police department was contacted, and they said that they needed to cease and desist because it does not encourage, obviously, social distancing, and there was no permission to do this on municipal properties. The group that did this refused to pick up the eggs, basically said no to the police department, and now wants to create another event and have the same type of egg hunt on private property, saying then the town can't address it. And the answer was, if there's enough information, then it may be an enforcement issue of emergency order prohibiting gatherings of more than 10 people. And if the enforcement is necessary through citation, that it may have to be, although they would like you to educate the people first. And that's it for the legal call. This morning's call, okay, they wanted to remind us that this is week 4 of the activation, and the comments are everyone's doing great. The governor held a press conference appointing Jerry Little to the governor's office. Dr. Ben Chan talked about social distancing and practices. And actually, some of you, I think I tried to include all the department heads. I sent that a little summary of Dr. Chan's press conference from yesterday. Department of Health has announced that 250 or more child care centers have been appointed to help with the emergency child care. We have 2 new resources to help children, supporting child and family well-being, and during the COVID-19 emergency and the family support, Warm Line has been created. They said as of this morning, 819 with COVID in New Hampshire, 21 deaths, 564 current, 127 hospitalized, 9,139 came back negative, and 4,669 with specimens that have been submitted to public labs. And you might have noted on the Dr. Chen that I sent you his summary, the most recent deaths in New Hampshire were because of healthcare facilities and the lack of the ability to do social distancing. Again, they reminded us they're still fielding calls about campgrounds, and they'll get back to us as soon as we have the governor's issue on that. Department of Health said they're critically low on personal protection equipment. They had 30 orders for today, and they're only able to fill 15 of them. They received or will receive 100 test cartridges for the Abbott machines, and they're waiting on a large order of personal protection shipment for next week. Military said they've got nothing significant to report. And then we have 16, now this is as of this morning, 16 positive first responder cases, 95 quarantined, 3 in alternative lodging, and a new policy went out yesterday about transportation of samples. The state courier said that they can do it themselves or the state fire marshal can facilitate, and both chiefs have that new transportation issue that went out yesterday. They're also working on security now for distribution of the PPEs. They're getting concerned that now they need security to protect these shipments coming in. Obviously, social media, we talked about that before. They said lots of responses based on data that was shared yesterday on the press releases. They're seeing mixed responses. Some are questioning the validity and also the theories of the data, where they came from, almost a conspiracy theory. There is positive conversation that also came out about the press conference, and the community response has been really applauding the frontline workers. So that was this morning. And then today's noon call was somewhat short. The governor issued some new orders. Some of you may have seen them, and if you want copies, I certainly can send them out. Order 28 is about non-congregating sheltering to reduce the spread of COVID. A lot of that is to do with homeless shelters. Order 29 is the temporary modification to extend executive branch deadlines. So anything that has gone out in the past that's been an executive decision from the state, this allows them to modify it. And emergency order 30 is temporary requirements regarding health care in alternative settings. So you know how they're setting up some of these almost mobile tent type situations. It's allowing that to happen. That's what that order is. The fire marshal said the release of revised unprotected guidelines, and again, both chiefs have this, I believe, and it talks about now the definitions of unprotected exposure. We also have 91 first responders testing positive. Personal protective equipment is supposedly coming in this weekend, and they're saying it's a race against time. They're ordering it, as both chiefs know, and sometimes it comes in a timely fashion, and sometimes it doesn't. And their comment is, we hope you get it before you need it. There was talk about the FEMA money. The emergency management will be getting on virtual calls with the EMD starting next week, and so obviously we're still tracking everything we're doing. Then they had some questions. One town said, homeless for housing not related to COVID. Is there a place that they can be housed? They do have places set up for quarantined people, but they want to send people, if they don't have symptoms, they don't want to put homeless in that type of a situation. They also said concern with sharing of the list. One gentleman was an EMS, and he was concerned that he can't have the list when they go on the call, and it was reminded that police and fire and those that signed the MOU are the ones that have it, and you can't share it with EMS. However, if they're going to a call where the address has been shown up on the list as potentially positive, the EMS people can be told with the code words to use to go to that address. And she said if you had any further questions, you can call them, but obviously EMS is going to be included if they're going to an address that's positive. They just can't have a list. There was talk about regarding the surge, what's the status of oxygen? They'll follow up and get back to us about that. They're trying to accumulate data about oxygen and where it is and where it's got to go. They talked about the EMD. An EMD said there's unprotected guidance, and he wanted to know what is the latest one, and the latest one that was posted on our web EOC is yesterday, and again, that's what the chiefs have. Police Department chief asked about the risk of exposure, pushing out and more information on respirators. Is there something about them that we should know? Should we be using more of the N95s versus surgical masks? And they said a surgical mask for a patient, an N95 for the first responder, especially if there's a nebulizer in use. They want to make sure that our first responders have the N95s. And Chief Jewett was able to get in an order, so that'll be coming, fortunately. And also for the surgical mask, he was able to do an order. And again, the last thing was about the campgrounds. It's still being worked on, and as soon as we get it done with the governor, we'll push it out so that I know Larry already went to the campgrounds, but we'll go with the updated guidelines as soon as they come out. And amen, that's it.
All right. Thank you very much, Trish.
Thanks.
And so I've got a couple of things on the board to start with. The first one is, and the Board of Selectmen was on copy on the email, the bookkeeper reminded us that in, I'm not going to say our previous meetings because we've had like 12 of them since, but in our last meeting that was in person in the town hall, we told the bookkeeper we'd give her an answer by April 7th as to what the next step is for the displaced employees in terms of her putting payroll in. So what I'd like to propose to the board is we do have a deadline of that payroll, which is Monday. So what I'd like to propose to the board is we continue doing the same thing we did last time and putting the payroll in as we did last time, and then reevaluate over these next few meetings. And our next deadline would be, correct me if I'm wrong, Nancy, 2 weeks from Monday. So we'd have to have an answer for the bookkeeper once again by the 27th. So what does the board think about? What does the board think about doing that?
That's okay with me, Matt.
That's okay with me, Matt.
All right.
Okay
so
with me, Matt.
Excellent. So can we get one of the selectmen to make a motion? All right. I'll do it.
Motion, but go ahead.
Let me do it. So I would move to instruct the bookkeeper to process the payroll for the COVID displaced employees the same way as she did for the last payroll. Can I get a second?
Second.
Okay, Charlie was the second. Let's do a roll call vote. Kate, how do you vote?
Aye.
Is Lisa on? Lisa? Okay, Larry?
I don't think she's here.
Aye.
And Charlie, you're an aye?
Yep.
And I'm an aye, so that's 4 ayes. And I'd like to, in the minutes say that the board would like to let the bookkeeper know they'll have an answer for her as soon as possible prior to the next payroll as to what to do. Okay?
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So that's that one. The second one I had was on the same email, and this is in regards to work being done, life safety work on the sprinklers in Town Hall, and I'd like to ask Diane to share with us what Diane has a plan to minimize the exposure to the 2 employees that might still be in Town Hall. So, Diane, do you want to share what your idea is?
Well, my thought process was to have the work done on a Friday, so because neither of them are in the town hall on Fridays, and then I'm still working on trying to get a hold of the company that did the cleaning for us on March 17th when we did it originally, to see if they could come back and just do the library and the town hall again. I called them yesterday and I still have not heard anything. So my thinking is we'd be closed. They'd do it on Friday, do all the work on Friday. Monday, the cleaners would come in and do their cleanup on Monday morning, and then by the afternoon, they could go into work if they wanted to, if not even sooner than that, probably.
Mr. Chair,
Go ahead, Chief.
I think Trish, in regards to a company to come in and clean Town Hall, I think Trish and Larry worked on a company that's more, I'll say, economical, and I'm sure Trish or Larry can fill you in on those.
So
Sure.
the general question then to the board is, are we still okay with Diane's plan? So we limit exposure by having the work done on, quote unquote off day, and then having it cleaned by somebody economical prior to Monday morning when the 2 folks would come back to work. Is the board still good with that?
I'm good with that. It's got to get done.
I think more importantly, are the people working in the building going to be okay with that?
Well, I think if it was up to them, having spoken to both of them, I think if it was up to them, they don't want it done at all until this thing is over. However, that's our call to make.
Is there any way then to leave, say, a 3-day lag between the process and them coming back in the office? Like a longer lag for them?
You would if they came in on
time?
Kate, if they came in on Friday, they wouldn't come back until Monday.
This is Diane. Kate.
Yeah.
If they come in on Friday and do all the work Friday, they're going to have Saturday, Sunday, and then Monday they'll come in and clean. There's your 3 days.
Right.
Okay,
Right,
are you good with that,
days.
Diane? I just want to make sure you guys are okay.
Hi,
Well,
Matt.
Diane's good. Diane's good
Wait,
with
I hear
it.
Nancy.
She's not one of the ones in the town hall. So.
Oh, that's right. She's not going in at all. I thought you were going once in a blue moon. Nancy?
Mary Jo and Kim.
Can anybody hear me?
Yes.
Yes,
Is
who's
that Tina?
This is Tina.
Yeah.
Okay.
Hi. So I'm just wondering, am I going to be able to have access during this time to the food pantry?
Not on Friday.
Right.
Okay. Do we have a date for that so I know?
Not yet. I am still waiting on when the people can do the cleaning, so then I can get the other guys to do it on Friday. Otherwise, if I do tell the guys to work on, like, next Friday, but I can't get the cleaners till Thursday of the following week, they're not going to want to go in all that time. So I am working.
Okay. If I can just get notification of when that is, because so I'll know that I can't get into the food pantry.
I will. Yep, I'll put you on my list, Tina.
All right. Thank you.
Yep.
Okay.
Can I ask a question, Matt?
Go ahead, Nancy.
If Tina needs to go in on that Saturday or Sunday, is it okay for her to do that? They're saying not on Friday, but what about Saturday and Sunday? Shouldn't you wait the 3 days? Like, just curious.
So I think the idea is so here's the thing. If we assume that the contractor we hired has COVID-19, then you probably want to wait till after the cleaning. Okay? If we assume the contractor doesn't have it, then should be okay on Saturday and Sunday, but you know what they say about assuming. So it's really, the good news here is we have some degree of flexibility because it's not happening, today. So
I'm not too concerned about going in until after the cleaning. I have gloves and masks, and I've been, using precautions all along. So that's not an issue for me. But I just didn't know if I would have actual physical access to the food pantry, and if it's just that one day, that's fine.
Yeah, it's not like it's gonna be barricaded. You'll still be able to get in, and he won't be there while you're there, as long as you don't come in on the Friday. So I guess the moral of the story is Diane's still looking on dates, so there's notice involved here. So she can keep.
That's fine.
All right, so we heard from Charlie. We heard from Kate. Larry, are you okay with this plan as sketched out here?
Go with the preliminary plan. We'll see what Diane comes back with. Yeah.
Okay, yeah, that's all we're asking at this point. So, all right, so Diane, just get back to us once you know more.
Yep, and if Trish and Larry, if you do have a different company, if you can email me the information, I can contact them on Monday.
Yep, I will do it right now.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
All right, so that's all I had on my list. Anybody, anything else?
You just have the minutes from April 6th.
Anybody want to make a motion on those?
Motion to approve the minutes of April 6th.
Is there a
second motion.
So Kate was the second. We're going to go roll call. Kate?
Aye.
Larry? Larry on mute. Okay, let's
he's still
pretend
there.
he abstained. Let's pretend he abstained. Charlie?
Yep.
Okay, and Matt's an aye, so that
Matt, there I am. I lost my keypad. I'm in, yeah.
Okay, thank you. I've done that myself. Okay, anything else?
I just like to say how. Who's that?
Oh, pardon me.
I have one thing too.
Okay, let's start with Kate.
I just wanted to say how much I appreciate how much all of you are doing and how well you're doing it.
Yes, absolutely. How about somebody spoke at the same time as Kate? It sounded like I couldn't make out the voice.
It was me, Terry. Hi.
Terry, go ahead.
Thank you. I just had a question. Diane, you had mentioned about the library. What would that be included with the cleaning company coming again, or I just wasn't sure.
Yep.
Yes, they will come in again. And the only thing happening at the library is we're replacing any heat detectors with smoke detectors, and then that's all that's happening there.
Oh, okay. Okay.
All right. So, Larry, you had something?
So that the cleaning company, Trish, is scheduled to come on Monday, correct? I just wanted the board to know that we did sign the agreement for whatever the amount was, $700 and something.
Yep. $768.
All right, so we signed the contract for $768, which is the building, the apparatus bay, all the apparatus, and all the police cars will be cleaned.
So call your broker, buy stock in these cleaning companies because they're going to come out looking pretty good after all of this. So,
right.
But that one sounds more economical than the last one. But,
I also want to thank Diane for explaining that to me. Thank you, Diane.
You're welcome.
All right. Anything else on a Friday night? All right. Before we wrap up, I'd like to ask the board if we could do on Monday night, we could do a 5:30 non-public.
It's okay with me.
Okay with me.
Kate,
Okay.
what do you think?
Yep.
Thank you.
I'm putting it in. I'll put an alert.
Awesome. So, Diane, if you could put that on our calendars so people don't forget.
Yeah. Can you tell me what you're going in under?
So that'll be reputation.
Okie dokie.
All right. And it'll be COVID-19 related, so you can put that on the agenda.
Okay.
That's all we meet on now. So.
Okay.
After this is over, we're not going to have any meetings for like 3 months, I think is all right. Any motions to adjourn out there?
So moved.
All right.
Second.
So happy Passover, happy Easter to everybody, and hopefully can enjoy time with family because that's all we got at this point.
Yeah, that's it.
So, and we'll talk on Monday.
Good night,
Bye,
everybody.
Thank you. Thank you.
See you later.
Have a great
Bye-bye.
Easter.
Thank you. Good night.
Bye.